YouTube, what's going on? It is Wednesday night, January 2nd, 2019. I showed you guys 100 little cars layout that I've been working on. This one here is mine. I'm doing two of them congruently because I've wanted a car dealership layout. So I'm going to show you guys this one. But first, there was some huge news in the hobby, the diecast hobby today. Probably the biggest news in a long time. Certainly the biggest news since Greenlight and Auto World announced the square body Chevys. So let's get right to it. Greenlight today has announced some new toolings. They also released some digital renderings of some of the previously announced toolings, like this Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser. Here's the list, and we'll get to that in a second. Mercury Cougar. How awesome is that? How about this? This is like, I never would have guessed. They're going to do a 1969 Nissan Patrol. That is killer. All right, so here is the list of the new toolings. Get your pen out. Check out some of these castings that are on the way from Greenlight. 1961 Chevy Greenbrier. That's like one of the coolest vans ever made. The 66 Kaiser Jeep, the Jeepster Commando. They're going to do a Datsun 510 four-door sedan. I wish it was the wagon, but that's okay. The 1970 AMC Matador, 1970 Chevy Monte Carlo, 72 Ford Ranchero, 1974 to 1983 Volkswagen Golf Mark I hatchback, and the 74 to 80 Volkswagen Rabbit. I hope that that's a two-door. I'm really hoping that's a two-door. They're also doing the Pontiac Le Mans Safari and the Grand Le Mans Safari. They are going to do a G-body Chevy Caprice, 1977 to 1990. That's a huge one there. I'm really happy about that one. The 81 to 91 Blazer, that's the square body K5 that they announced. They're going to do a 92 to 97 Crown Vic, 92 to 97 Ford F-250. That is going to be an awesome truck. I'm really hoping, because it looks like they're going to do it as a monster truck. I hope that they also do a civilian truck. They're also doing the brand new Chevy Silverado Dually, as well as the brand new Dodge Ram Dually, and the 2020 Jeep Gladiator, which is basically a four-door Jeep truck. They're doing the Checker Taxi, and then they're going to do a fire truck and a couple of trash truck. Actually, a couple of trash trucks, and then another back-end wrecker. So, Greenlight, that's all their 2019 announcements. So, I don't think we'll get any other announcements from them this year. I think this is kind of new from Greenlight to just say, look, we've budgeted for 2019 for new licensing. This is the licensing that we have picked up. We're working on the toolings. And you can look for these to hit the pegs sometime in 2019. So I personally am most excited about the Nissan Patrol, the Volkswagen Golf, and the Chevy Caprice. Also very excited about the K5 Blazer. Those are my top four. I just can't wait to get all of them. And I will get all of them. So anyways, back to the layout. I know a lot of you aren't all that thrilled with these layouts, but I thoroughly enjoy building them, and I thoroughly enjoy showing them. And so I'm going to show you guys this one, which granted it's a work in progress, just like the other one from the last video. I am going to put slabs down. Somebody commented, and I was planning on doing that. I just couldn't use the foam board because it gets way too warped when you paint it. So what I'm going to do with this is I'll paint the edge, and then I will glue it to the surface here with Gorilla Wood Glue. I'll use a lot of weight. I'll put a lot of weight on it so that it cures nice and tight. The glue should definitely not have a problem bonding to the concrete and the wood. And I'll rough up the surface of the wood so that it bites a little bit harder. And then once it's glued down, the edge will already be painted, so I will only need to paint the surface. I'm also going to carve the expansion joints because I want it to look real. And then for the interior of the building, I'm going to do a gloss floor, probably black and white checkered. I'm not 100% sure. This does not go to this building. I just so happen to have it on the building for the time being. It's actually going to go on the garage. So it's coming along. I did get the power lines up. I got the fan on, so we have hurricane force winds. The scale of the wind is definitely not to scale. Let's just put it that way. It's funny how even things like wind can be out of scale. These close-up shots really make me realize I should have singed these to take all the little fuzzies off. You can't see them with the naked eye though. But the power lines definitely add a lot. This is just sewing thread. You know, anything thicker than that probably isn't going to be scaled right. And I know some of them sag, some of them don't. So it's not great, but I have seen some power lines that look like this. The rule of thumb from everything I've read is that for HO scale, now granted this is S scale, but HO scale, all of my layouts are somewhere in between. For HO scale, you want 1 foot of scale sag. I don't know what that equates to, but to get it on each one is very difficult to do. This, I don't want to say this was hard to do, although it wasn't easy, but it's just more of a tedious, very, very time-consuming process because, you know, you have to tie one end and then dab it with some glue. Then you have to run it to the other one, and to get it wrapped around and tied off is much easier said than done because I'm not tying it around the bottom. If I were, that would have made it much, much easier to do. But since I'm just tying it around that, it makes it really hard because you'll try to loop it through and the thread will kink and it'll pop up off of this. And so to get it tied off with the right amount of tension to create the right amount of sag, it was just very, very hard to do. And then you got to go from that one to that one. So this is only 3 telephone poles. And then again, it's 6 lines. So not very easy. It definitely takes patience. And I'm not done because I have to take and bring all of these lines together and then ground them. So I'll run a line to the ground. And then on the other side, I'm going to take and I'm going to run a line from the transformers. I'll build a little power box on the back side of the building, and I'll run a line from here to the building. So I have that to do along with the foundation here. And then the only other 2 things I was planning on doing, I'm going to do a fence along this side and along the back. But this part here and this part here will be left open. So I'll make the fence, and then I'm going to run some streamers from the building, maybe to the telephone pole, probably just straight across, just some, some sail streamers. I've seen people use them in their dioramas, and they look really good, in my opinion. And so then that'll be it for this little layout. For 100 Little Cars layout, I have basically similar plans, except I'm not going to do the sail streamers. He can do those if he wants. But I am going to do a foundation and a fence. And his fence is going to be different than my fence. And I'll show you guys when it's all done. I have a great idea in mind. And if I can model it and execute it, it's going to look really, really cool. It's going to be one of the visual attractions, one of the focal points of his layout. It's something I've only seen a couple times in scale models, and when it's done right, it looks awesome. So, but I wanted to show you guys my layout here. Like I said, it's similar to his, but different. I was going to make a building because I wanted it to be all built out by myself. But the more I look at it here with the car dealership, the more I'm liking it. My lot is similar to his, but not quite as rough. Although it is still pretty darn rough. It's not maintained at all. But it is pretty much the exact look that I was going for, which is just a very tore up concrete lot. So tore up that you've got grass and weeds and stuff coming up through. And this was modeled with actual cement, so this is real cement. But the application process was different. My first attempt, I did pre-mix the cement, and I tried applying it that way. But you only get one shot to get the finish that you're looking for, and if you don't get it, then you're pretty much screwed because it starts to set, and you can't work with it. There's nothing you can do if the result is not what you're looking for. There's nothing you can do. You got to scrape it off and start over. And the more you do that, the harder it's going to be to get a smooth finish. So what I did is I applied the cement the same way that I apply the dirt, which is I take the cement powder and I put it in a salt shaker. And it's a little bit different because with the dirt, I'll put some glue down. I'll put a really thick layer of glue, and then I'll cover the glue with the dirt from the salt shaker. With this, I did the same exact thing minus the glue. So there was no glue. I just spread out the cement powder. You can see it's all set. It's like, it looks like it's kind of loose gravel, but it's not. But anyways, once I had the powder down, I took my hammer, which, the head of the hammer is maybe the size of a quarter, and I just went over every surface and just patted it down. And what I was hoping for was to get most of the surface to look like this, a nice smooth top surface. But what I ended up getting is what you're looking at, which is kind of what I wanted. I just wanted not as much of this type of stuff and more of this type of stuff. But I'll take this. It's not terrible. It's pretty close. Because, so after I took the hammer to it, the next step was to take isopropyl alcohol and soak all of it. Because if you don't pre-soak it with alcohol, you're never going to be able to get it glued down, because just using glue or even using wet water, if you drop the wet water or the glue on top of the powder, it'll bead up on top and it'll create a little crater. And then it's going to look really, really bad. So you have to pre-soak everything with isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol has such a low surface tension that even with a really fine powder, like cement, it'll penetrate all of it without leaving a crater. And then once it's all saturated, then you can go over it with the glue and the glue will just follow the path of the alcohol. So wherever the alcohol went, the glue will follow without beating up on top. And then you let it set overnight to dry, and then basically this is what you get. So, you know, the next step after that was to just add a little bit of static grass patches, because I want it, you know, I want it to look like there's some vegetation coming up through. And then I added all of the vegetation around the side, which is just static grass, coarse grass, just some gravel, which I need to glue down more of it. Most of it's down really good, not going anywhere, but there are some loose pieces there. I did glue down the telephone poles before applying all of the stuff on top, because obviously for this reason back here I didn't want the bases of these exposed, although that one there is. So I'll probably go over the top of that with the cement powder and just glue it down. It'll just be a big cement hump, which, as bad as that might look, it'll look better than that. And that's basically it. So there's no real method to the madness. Everything around the edge, whenever you're doing surfaces like this, it's pure randomness. You just want to stay away from patterns, because patterns don't occur in nature, not very often, and they stand out like a sore thumb when they're spotted. So as you can see, I tried to be as random as possible with the grass and the dirt. But the lot, I really do like the overall result. And then this is this side. I wish I had taken the cement further over to the edge. It would have given me more space over here. But I don't know, I may try to remove some of that to put the foundation on top. Because otherwise, that's all just going to be wasted space. Because all the viewing angles for this layout are going to be here and here. I did kind of use the Tomica as, you know, I want something like that, but a little bit more realistic looking. That was kind of what I was hoping for. There are things about that little diorama that I like. Mainly, I like the street lights. I've only got one, which came as part of the telephone poles. So one of them has the little access box here, which my camera refuses to focus on. So these telephone poles come in sets of 6. And what it is 2 of them will have the access box, 2 of them will have the light, 1 of them will have the transformers, and 1 of them will have nothing. And I've only used 1 6-pack because I'm going to keep the others for future builds. So I took these 3. I took one with the light, the transformer, and the box, and then I gave him one with the box, and I lost the other light, so unfortunately he's only going to get a box. But if he wants to make some transformers, I don't imagine that they'd be all that hard to make, especially with his skill set. But anyway, so that's an update on the layout, but mainly I just wanted to do this video to tell you guys about the new big news from Greenlight. It's really, really cool because no one is doing that, you know. If Auto World or any of these other, even when Hot Wheels announces a new casting, like a new licensed model casting, it's like it might be 2 or 3. You know, what was the latest one? Was this Honda CRX? And it's like, you know, it's cool that they go ahead and do it. But for Greenlight to go out and get the licensing they did, you know, a lot of those I know the Greenbrier was very highly requested. The K5 Blazer was one of the most requested. I know the G-Body Caprice was one of the most requested. The Volkswagen Golf, they really were receptive to what the collectors were asking for. And so I just hope that they take their time and make sure they get those castings right. Don't be so rushed. Don't feel like you got to get them on the pegs right away. Take your time and make sure you get them right. I want to see more stuff like the Ford Country Squire wagon rather than stuff coming out looking like the 240Z. So, all right, so that's enough about that. I did get a few cars out, so we'll take a look at a few cars on the layout. We'll start with this Mazda Savannah, made by Konami. And I think this layout definitely provides a little bit more of an intimate setting for the cars. I posted a picture yesterday. I had this outside, and I had the Johnny Lightning Tahoe on it with the natural sunlight, and it looks really, really good. So if you guys are on Instagram, check that out. Give it a like. A lot of people seem to really like the way that one came out. You know, it's such a basic, simple layout. No trees. Not a whole lot to it. You know, it's basically just ground. But it really accomplishes a lot, in my opinion. I'm very pleased with the result. The only thing I wish I could do is I wish I knew how to paint parking lines and then basically just remove them so it looks like they were there at one time. I wish I could do that. I definitely don't have that skill set, and I don't want to attempt it because if I get it wrong, I'm screwed. Here's an awesome car. This right here is the best Pontiac Catalina that's ever been made in 1:64 from Ertl. Very highly detailed, these vintage American muscle. Got the dual carbs. It does have an opening trunk with a toolbox. This is one of the Ertl American Muscle castings that does have transparent lens headlights. Not all of them have that, but this one does. This is not my preferred color of this casting, but I still like it. So there's the trunk with the toolbox. Got the license plate, 62 Cat, painted taillights, rubber tires with tread, steel wheels with the chrome hubcaps. Awesome car. Very cool. It's got a little bit of rear rake, which is accurate to the car. Let's see. Got a few Kyosho that we'll look at, starting with this. The black cars do seem to show up a little bit better on this. I don't know if it's just the way the cement reflects the light or what. But this is a Jaguar XKR. It's a very nice model from Kyosho. Good size model. Nice lens headlights and taillights. Got the Kyosho Beads Collection. Nissan Fairlady Z. Love this casting. This is the only late model Fairlady Z casting that I have outside of Matchbox and Hot Wheels. It's the only premium detailed one that I've got. The only other brand that I know of that did it in at a detailed capacity like this is Auto Art, and the Auto Art is also very nice. Probably pretty close to as nice as this. The only thing is that one has plastic tires. This one has rubber tires, but the Auto Art does have lens headlights and tail lights, as this one does. Awesome car. Not a big fan of black, but for some reason, I really do like this car in black. One of the very few Kyosho cars that doesn't have the side windows. You don't see that very often from Kyosho. Nice looking transparent lens taillights. I'm always a little bit nervous about rolling the cars on this because of what this could do to the tires. You know, it's like rolling your rubber tires on sandpaper. Another Kyosho, also black. This is the Mazda RX8. I actually really like this car. I thought this was an ugly car when they came out, but they've really grown on me quite a bit. It's a unique car, and it just has one of those timeless designs to it. And Kyosho does a great job replicating it. I would like a lighter color on this one. I know the Toy Pimp has a couple that are lighter colors from the beads collection, but man, they're like $30 a pop. And even if you go on eBay to pick one of these RX8s up, it's not a cheap casting. I don't understand why. It's just a pricey one. Auto Art did this one as well, but the Auto Art RX8 model has plastic tires and tampoed headlights and taillights. So it's a significant step down from the Kyosho. I mean, check out these taillights. Some of the nicest taillights I've seen on a 1:64 scale car. Very cool car. Since we're on Mazda, we also have the Tomica Limited Vintage Mazda RX7, which I just showed this in the last video, so I'm actually not going to get too carried away with it, being that we're at a half hour already. Love this car, though. Anytime TLV brings out more modern stuff like this, I've got to get it. Like when they did the R33, and what else did they do? The was it the EK9 Type R? Anytime they do stuff like that, I've got to get them. That looks wicked. And then last, just because I like the level of detail in the Greenlight Jeeps. By the way, they're also doing in 1:64 scale a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. I think I missed some, actually. Let me pull this up real quick because I missed a couple. There are a couple that are coming out that weren't on that list. So I've got my phone here. we're going to go to ZA3 Collectibles. We're going to go to News and Info. And right now it's at the top. It's the latest news. So we have the Mercury Cougar, the Nissan Patrol, the Vista Cruiser. We've got the new Silverados. They're doing those. We've got the new 2015 to 2019 Shelby GT350. That's a new tooling. Auto World, I think, currently has that tooling. It's a nice one. Here's the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. A couple different configurations for that, including a lifted configuration. Some new tractors nobody cares about. And then, of course, this is some of the new stuff coming out. If you guys haven't checked out this website, here's something I didn't even know they were doing. Garbage Pail Kid packaging. The High Roller. This website is awesome. It tells you, if you go to the top and click on Greenlight casting number, let's click on that. It'll pull up a checklist of all of the Greenlight toolings that exist. So what you can do is, let's see if we can find one here. Let's see, Corvette. I was looking for the C10. Let's just pick another one. So let's do the Crown Vic. That's a real popular casting. It's probably their most produced casting of all time. So if we click on the Mercury Marauder / Crown Vic tooling, it'll pull up a thumbnail checklist of every single time they've released it. So this is a lot of different releases. All right, this is every time that this car has been released. So then what you could do is click on one, and it'll pull up the 6-car set that it came out in, and it'll tell you, let me set this down, it'll tell you at the bottom here what the production was. So like in this case, they did 7,463 with 149 green machines. So all these cars were made, they made 7,400 of each with only 149 greenies. And then if you click the green machine button, it'll pull up a picture of all the castings and what they look like as the green machine. So it's an awesome website if you collect Greenlight, because it gives you all that information. There's just a lot of information. Plus, they're always announcing all of the latest news, like new toolings. The website is not run by Greenlight. However, the guy that runs it is in direct contact with Greenlight, and Greenlight, they provide him with all of the information so that he can keep it updated. So, all right, well, that's going to wrap up the video. I hope that you all gathered some helpful, useful information in this video. I know there's a lot going on, but I had to let you all know about the new Greenlight because that word is going to start spreading quick, and I wanted you to hear it from me first. So leave your comments and thoughts below. If you have any suggestions for the layout, I'd like to hear them. And you guys have a good Thursday. We'll talk to you at the next diecast video.